So how can a tuning fork teach us about the two aspects of self and why they need each other? I'd like to explain a metaphor for these two aspects of self in relationship to that of a tuning fork. So we've got a beautiful tuning fork sculpture here and lots of little tuning forks, and this is a tuning fork, different type. When we hold a tuning fork, to make it sound, we need to tap it on something hard, like the edge of the table, and I have a little puck here, like this. And even though the tuning fork is vibrating, I can feel this vibrating in my hand, it's silent. We can't really hear it. We could relate this perhaps to the divine aspect of self, the formless. For the tuning fork to be heard audibly, it needs to be placed on a resonating surface, like a wooden table, for example. When a tuning fork is tapped on the edge of the table and then placed with the spine of the fork touching a resonating surface, then we can hear the sound of the tuning fork. So see if we can do this here. Might be a bit hard to hear that right up the back, but once activated, the tuning fork in its own right is fully vibrating, it's fully alive and resonating, but it can only be heard well when it is connected to something of form. The tabletop is like the human body, the physical aspect of form that is with the small s. For the tuning fork to reach its full potential, it needs the resonating surface. It needs its force to be channeled into and through the wooden table. In other words, the spiritual self is there, activated by the power of creation, quietly and silently alive and resonating. And the human body, with all of our senses, is like the tabletop that gives the tuning fork audible sound. Therefore, it is through the physical form of the human body to which the resonance of the divine can play itself out, can interact and can engage with the world. I feel like it is through this union of formless with form that creates effective spiritual care to others. Without the strings connected, a guitar is just wood. Without the breath flowing through, a flute is just a pipe. Without human hands tapping the drum skin, there is no musical heartbeat. Without the human body, divine love, compassion and wisdom could not be shared with one another. Another aspect of being in tune is trusting our intuition. Intuition links to improvisation in music. This is like speaking the language of the unmanifested. It is like listening deeply to the present moment, sensing what the moment requires, and allowing oneself to be carried by the flow of creation. Musical improvisers trust in their abilities and they know their instrument well, at least well enough that they can play the notes without getting stuck in cognitive thinking. It's not so much thinking about the music, rather it's about feeling the music. Long before music could be written down, it was felt. It was created in the moment. It was spiritual. It was a pathway to God. It was not recorded. It was here and then gone, like a living entity. Of course, as a musician, it helps to know which chords fit together, which notes create harmony, how to ebb and flow with the rhythm, how to rise and fall with the volume of the dynamics. All of these things are helpful, but ultimately the true beauty in improvised music lays in the player being connected to feeling and intuition, to listening deeply to the sound and also to the silences, to sensing and being with sound like a worship of the present moment in creation. Music is always in the present moment. It can be nowhere else. Prayer, when not read from a page, can be improvised expression of the divine channeling through the human form. Even though the prayer may be about the past or about the future, this type of prayer is something that's offered in the here and now. And mindfulness meditation, as most of you would know, is learning to be in the here and now with the senses of body and mind. When I play music, I'm drawn into that present moment experience. I am the witnessing presence that observes the music. I'm being in tune. I'm also at one with the music, connected. From this perspective, I'm able to step out of the way and let my egoic, controlling mind be quiet. I allow my divine self to sing and play, and allow myself to be carried down the sonic stream of flow. All of this is a form of being in tune. And speaking of flow, being in tune can be likened to a feeling of being in the flow. Other words for this could be living in alignment with source energy. Athletes call this being in the zone. Taoists call this the wave. Musicians sometimes call it being in the pocket. Aboriginal elder Miriam Rose Ungunma Bauman describes a similar state to being in the flow as dadiri, an Aboriginal word from the Nayu people of the Daly River Northern Territory, meaning inner deep listening and quiet still awareness. Being in tune is like a small stream channeling down the mountain. It knows where to go, gliding around rocks and stones, not being held but being carried by the continual unfolding of now. In our pastoral care work lays an invitation to learn to be in tune with the river of oneness, with God, with self and with others. And perhaps for this invitation to be lived and shared, for us to heed its call, to sing its song, we can learn to be in tune with the state of what I'm calling actively allowing. Active equaling to do, to take action, and allowing equaling to go with the flow, to release control. If each of us are expressions of the one river of being that nourishes all life itself, how can we then learn to bring life and nourishment to all things we touch? Can we be like a leaf carried on the water's surface, living in the flow of the stream of divine awareness as it carries us along? Perhaps the answers whisper to us in the lyrics of song titled "The River is Flowing" by Diana Heidelbrand Hull. It goes like this. The river is flowing, flowing and growing. The river is flowing back to the sea. Mother, carry me, your child I will always be. Mother, carry me back to the sea, back to the sea. So at this point, I wish to explore with you a way to fill in the gap to this sentence. When I'm in tune, and there's a gap. Here are some examples on the screen of what may flow on after when I'm in tune, So I notice, I feel, I become, I sense, I know. So I'd like you to pair up with the person next to you and share your answers with each other. You may like to write them down because we're going to return to this a bit later. I will give this exercise a few minutes and play a bell when the time is complete. Thanks everybody for participating in that exercise. So please keep your answers handy because we'll come back to those later.